Hello everybody and welcome back to my second travel vlog. If you haven't watched my first one, I would say click on the link below and watch it. However, I would not know how to do that. So if you wish to watch my first one, feel free to find it. Otherwise, here we go on my next adventure. A lot has happened since my last vlog. You might be able to tell that I've been in a bike accident. Well, actually two since my last vlog, but one bad one, clearly. I am okay, but let's not worry about that. In the meantime, I have been to Paris for the Paralympics. I have started uni and I have continued to explore the beautiful city of Aarhus. I did have a special request from my lovely boyfriend Luke. He asked to see more of my face in these videos, so I apologize in advance. It's mainly of me eating and running, but I guess you get to see all sides of me. So once again, sit back, relax, and enjoy. To celebrate the beginning of the semester, or perhaps my departure to Paris, the uni put on an event called Bonfire at the Beach. We were super lucky with the weather and there was a massive turnout with both local and international students. As you can see, there were so many people on the beach, but only a few of us were brave enough to go in the water. It wasn't even that cold. It was a big night. My housemates and I had so much fun that time slipped away, and it wasn't until midnight that we got pizza for dinner and then head on home. Luckily for me, that sorted my lunch out for the big trip the next day to Paris. Cold pizza on the bus definitely hit different, and it was surprisingly good. Honestly, my expectations for Paris were not high, and I'm really glad that they weren't. I took a bus from Aarhus to Copenhagen, which was stunning, flew from Copenhagen to Paris, and then took a bus from one of the Paris airports to the city centre. The city looked so dark, gloomy, and dirty with graffiti plastered everywhere, and so many people were sleeping on the street. I could also go on a massive rant about the lack of accessible public transport, but for now, enjoy this double-decker train, which was kind of cool. My friends and I were on our way to Stade de France to watch Jared Clifford's first event at the Paralympics. The atmosphere was electric and I was so happy to see the stadium almost filled with people cheering on Paralympic athletes from around the world. Understandably, the French turnout was massive, but in every single event they cheered on everyone, which was actually quite impressive. On this day, there were quite a few Aussies competing, so while we were there screaming our lungs out for Jared, and had a few tears, we got to celebrate some medals, like Maddie Di Rosario, who won bronze for the wheelchair 5,000 metre. Fun fact, I actually shared a bowl of nachos with Maddie at the Gold Coast Marathon in 2022. Here we have Australian athlete Ella Party with cerebral palsy racing in the first heat of the 100 metre sprint. Check out how loud the crowd was. Of course, we can't forget that I'm still training for the World Triathlon Championships, so no amount of heartbreak or elation will stop me from sticking to my program. On my easy run, I could hear jazz in the distance, so naturally, I had to run towards it. It was so cool, made me miss my instruments a little more, and if I didn't have to keep running, I think I could have stayed here for hours. The following day, I planned on going to watch the triathlon, but surprise, surprise, the water quality wasn't safe enough to swim in. My friends were going on a historical walking tour, and it all worked out in the end. I got to join them and have the best of both worlds. This building here is for the workers on the Notre Dame restoration project. More on that later. The next day, the sun was shining, the Seine was surprisingly clear, and the trees were still, making it a perfect day for the rescheduled Paralympic triathlon. With 11 different events across male and female triathletes, different categories are determined based on a person's impairment. The races started at 8 AM and continued until about 2 PM that same day. They say time flies when you're having fun, but what about when somebody with no legs flies past you at 40 k's an hour? It was definitely an incredible sight to see. I then went for a short walk and just so happened to walk past the archery stadium. I got a few cheeky glimpses of the competition from the big screens above the arena. That night I caught up with a few friends for dinner, which just so happened to be on the same street as Moulin Rouge. I feel like if you're in the area, it is definitely something you have to see. However, it was probably one of the yuckiest places I've been to in terms of littering, smoking, homelessness, weird men, and the smell of pee. I'm glad I had my friends with me. I don't think this one needs an explanation. Our second day at the Purple Track started with the men's 15,000 T11 race. These men are totally blind and all wear blacked out goggles to put everyone on a fair and level playing field. The world record was broken by a few seconds, which is massive over this distance in running. We enjoyed a couple more medal ceremonies as well. Unfortunately, Jared's Paralympic campaign did not finish as we all hoped, but for representing our country there was still a reason to celebrate. With his family, we made our way to the Mob Hotel where all the Australian Paralympic athletes, friends and family gather to chill out. This is also where Channel 9 did a lot of their news reporting and interviews from. Because this was a space for the awesome athletes to chill out, I decided to keep the camera away for this one. It wasn't until one of my last days in Paris I found an authentic bakery right around the corner from where we were staying. It was super affordable and delicious. I wish I knew about it from day one so I could have tried everything on offer. I also went to the Paris 2024 official store. It was so big, I reckon I spent more than an hour here. That night, Jared held his after party and it was great to see so many people who love and care about him come together to show their support. It was the perfect night for it too. It may have been raining, but I had to go back to the bakery and I brought my friends with me this time too. You can see about a dozen bakers on the left hand side working hard, and on the right is where all the fresh produce goes for us to buy. When we went in the morning, they were still busy filling up the cabinets, so unfortunately I didn't get my super yummy pretzel again. It was then time for my final run in Paris. Super wet and slippery. I did get to run through the triathlon transition area on the bridge as they were packing up, and that was pretty cool. This is for my bestie Sophia. These pigeons looked so funny, I would almost describe them as blonde. I reckon if you picked one of them up, Soph, you'd be obsessed. Back to the Notre Dame. It was quite devastating to see so many cranes and so much scaffolding around the building. I couldn't believe the fire occurred in 2018. I thought it was only in the last year or two. At first, I was surprised by how little got burnt down, but after 6 years of constant repairs, they have obviously fixed a lot of it. However, there are still a few years to go until it's complete. I think I earned an ice cream at the end of my last run. The guide from the walking tour suggested this ice cream place and boy, it was good. I wish I could have shared my scoop with Mum, because I reckon she would have loved it. Finally, it was time to go back home. The last station I had to go to wasn't too bad, I guess, and I must admit, I was impressed by the punctuality of the trains. The longest I ever had to wait was 4 minutes. This wasn't enough to make me appreciate the Paris Metro though. I think it was almost offensive to hold the Paralympics at a place where public transport is impossible for people with disabilities to access. I could not wait to get back to Denmark. I missed my housemates, the pretty streets, and the lovely people who can speak English. It was a long haul home, but I made sure to buy extra food from the yummy bakery to snack on for the trip. Do you recognise this place from my first video? I'm touching back down in Copenhagen. Here I am doing a big, much needed stretch before getting on the 4-hour bus from Copenhagen back to Aarhus. I almost prefer the bus to the train because there were no stops and the route was a lot more scenic. This would have been a super comfortable journey, but unfortunately the guy sitting in front of me had no concept of personal space and the back of his chair was quite literally in my face. First day back in Aarhus and there was no messing around. A couple of my housemates went down the road to Den Gammelby. This is Danish for the old town. Here they have gathered heaps of old buildings from around Denmark and have made their own little town to display what life in Denmark used to be like. There are 4 sections to the old town, from 1864 to 1900, 1900 to 1927, 1950 to 1974, and then the present, from 2000 onwards. For those of you who know of Sovereign Hill in Ballarat, this seemed to be a similar experience. We started from the back, the oldest part, and intended on moving forward to the present. I was so mesmerised by the architecture, pretty buildings, greenhouses full of plants, and the scenery, that by halfway I was too exhausted to continue. Thankfully, I bought an annual pass which allows me to go whenever I want, so I look forward to going back and exploring some more. I may or may not have forced my housemates to get their creative sides out with me. There is currently a 70s theme happening at the old town, and there are different activities to take part in. Apparently, crockery designs were a big thing in the 70s, so we had to go. It was probably meant to be a kid's experience, but I had fun nonetheless. I think my housemate secretly did too. We even got to put them up on display. This is where my Den Gammelby journey ended this time round, but stay tuned because I'm gonna come back. The weather over the weekend was stunning and I couldn't have asked for anything better. My love for running has grown so much since I've been here, and most days all I want to do is run. This forest area is at the end of my street and I just feel so alive and at home every time I run through it. It was finally my turn to start uni. The rain was back, a perfect welcome for my first day. At least it was daylight. I'm not looking forward to my 8 AM Monday classes in winter. Well, I guess that's it for now. See you next time.